Hi, this is Bret Crane for my EdTech blog, EdTech 532, specifically for that class, for a quest, How People Learn Part 3. And what I'm going to be doing in this reflection is talking a little bit about my mashup learning theory that I devised called Fluxx Learning Theory. Now, I'll go ahead and put the link right here on where that's at. I'm not going to go into too much detail on it. Just to say that it was based around some of the idea of script theory for humor, in that when we are trying to devise how humor works, essentially our brains problem solve, that we are guided along a certain script, and when the teller of, let's say, a joke goes off script, our brains have to interpret that and figure out why they're going in a different direction than we thought they would go, and then we have to reinterpret, and then we make that connection and realize, oh, that's why this situation is funny. And I related that to learning, in that we are always inundated by environmental factors, by our own understanding of things, and we have this constant change and flux, if you will, that's going on, that causes us to always reevaluate our own learning on a constant basis. So anyway, in fact, let me show you what I currently had. This is the diagram that I had set up for my Fluxx Learning Theory. Pretty simplistic. Everything's kind of going into a kind of a funnel, and things aren't really defined as to how it works. Well, I had some comments from Dr. Gibson on my blog, and he talked about Arthur Koestler. I wasn't familiar with Arthur Koestler, but he talked about, I looked him up a little bit, kind of read a little bit about him. He talked about this aha process, the aha process, that point of discovery, I believe it was his book, The Act of Creation, I think. But he talks about that process where you get that point where you get that learning, and that there's question, then you find solution. I'm going to use that to kind of more invest in how my diagram process for my Fluxx Learning Theory kind of works. Is that I think you do have that point, and I talked about it a little bit before, but I didn't diagram it that well. So let me show you my new diagram for my learning theory. Now, in this one, as you can see, it starts off with prior knowledge, with that constructivist idea that you're always building on prior knowledge. Well, as you move down through that prior knowledge, you're always going to be impacted by various things, whether that's internal change or whether that's external change. When that change occurs, all of a sudden you're off script, and things are different than you're basing prior knowledge on, and you have to adjust and adapt to new learning. And so in this case, I'm using internal change as that influence of metacognition, that we may have learned something in a different area, but because we start thinking about it and making connections on our own, we start to question what we previously learned. And so there's that influence. And then there's the external change, and that could be brought about by situational or environmental factors, or anything that we are influenced from the outside. It could be a teacher proposing a certain way to look at things, and all of a sudden we have to reevaluate our thinking and our learning and adjust to that. And then what we continue to do is get that question at that point, that aha point or that point, and then as we readjust, we get that ha point and move through with our continued knowledge, and we get that new learning that we can then build on as our new prior knowledge. So this is my idea for kind of a different diagram on how my Fluxx Learning Theory works, that shows that constant inundation of input, whether that's internal or external, on our prior knowledge, and how we always have to continue to adapt and change to have that new learning. So hopefully that explains it a little bit better for the Fluxx Learning Theory, and thanks very much.